everybody? I'm Tommy, and you're on the boat. Holy hell, there's 276 of you in here. Do me a favor and smack that like button. Hit subscribe and then hit the bell for notification. And when I go live, you will find out about it. The reason that I did not go live today is because there is a hell of a lot going on, and I got to chase a lot of it down. There is a lot of being reported about a woman named Kayla, who is a niece of Guthrie, but she isn't. Sounds great. It started on a YouTuber's channel when somebody called in. I'm not going to say the name of the channel, but somebody called into their podcast and said, oh, no, I know the girl. Her mom's name is Penny. Penny is related to. It doesn't check out in genealogy. I actually did this today. There doesn't seem to be anywhere anyway that I can prove that this woman has anything to do with the Guthrie family. It sounds friggin' fantastic. Speaking of things that sound fantastic, do me a favor, smack that like button. There is also a rumor. We've talked about this a lot, man. There was a card left at the door from Protective Services for Adults. This is a big one, right? No, it's not. Sounds good, though. But what happens is when she goes missing, one of her neighbors calls Adult Protective Services. And because Sheriff I'm sorry, it's early on. Because of the sheriff from Pima County, no one was watching that building. So she walked right up and stuck her card in the door. This was reported after the crime. So there is nothing tying back to any real news that she was abused. Again, sounds like a promising lead, but it is not. And that's just kind of the way it goes, right? This is that kind of case, and it's cooking. It's happening in real time, right? And the sheriff has been making the rounds. He's been doing all kinds of interviews. He crapped all over Brian Enton, which I got to be honest with you, at this point right now in this investigation may not be the best idea, because Brian Enton is coming across as someone who is absolutely believable. He is, for all intent and purpose, he's a journalist. I'm not. I'm a guy that gives opinion. My opinion is still that this is neckbeard. I'll tell you why in a minute. But I still like neckbeard for this, and I'm going to until he gets exonerated by them slapping handcuffs on somebody else. That's just the way that it goes. Do me a favor, folks. Hit that subscribe button if you just got here. Hit the bell for notification. And hit the thumbs up because we are actually juking YouTube. I'm going to say everything they don't want me to say today. You guys are pushing me out. I just got last week's stats. And honest to God, the only reason that I am being seen is because of you all. And hopefully that makes you feel good, because it sure as hell makes me feel good. It really does. It's something that is it's humbling. And at the same time, it may actually make a difference. We could get to a point where people stop saying that these guys went to a pew-pew store, because they didn't. They went to a gun dealer. They went to gun stores where people sell guns and bullets and things that you're not allowed to say on YouTube because they're just so damn soft in 2026. However, those have yet to yield any kind of results. A lot of people have speculated that this isn't the kind of crime that somebody would do that way. I'll tell you something else, though, that is making my spidey senses tingle a little bit, and I think it'll probably have the same effect on you. Am I feeling better? Yeah, a little bit. I'm feeling a little bit better. This is, look, man, if you do true crime, you're going to come across some cases that you can't sleep when they're on, and that's kind of where we're at on this one, right? This has been one of those cases that if you're into it, this is a true crime on steroids, right? This is the craziest stuff that has ever happened. And that's real talk, right? This is something that is very, very different. And if we, I think we can all admit that for those of us who are involved in true crime, this case is different. And I understand that that bothers some people. That I understand why. I understand that there are people out there right now. Hello, Reese. I'm glad you're here. I'm having to see this on two screens. There are so many people live streaming that problems that I've never had on StreamYard I'm having. Maybe StreamYard will hear that and do something about it. Huh? That wouldn't suck. However, let's see if we can do this. Boom. There we go. At least something is up there. No, see, that's not moving either. That's not moving either. So here's one that you can sink your teeth into. They are going through Google, and they're looking to see if there's anybody out there that may have Googled how much money that Nancy Guthrie makes. Then they want to cross-check that with anybody that might have looked for, there we go, it's moving, and how many people have tried to see where Nancy Guthrie lives. And there have been people. There are searches. The first one took place in June of 2025. Somebody wanted to know where Nancy Guthrie lived. They did multiple searches. Allegedly, they did multiple searches that were going to give them a bird's eye view of what this house looked like. Allegedly, they also said, what does the inside of the house look like? These are bad, bad things to Google if you're a criminal. And they know where this came from. It came from Tucson. Roulette, good to see you, man. Did Savannah's husband really cover up the Clinton scandal? Yeah, more or less. That is something that happened, right? But that's what the guy does for a living. I don't know that we can tie this in. Texas Red says, Brian Enton oozes credibility in a world of fake news provocateurs. Wow, you wordsmith. What? Solid ass comment. And it's a lot of truth, man. How do you watch Brian Enton and think he's full of crap? But the sheriff went off on him about it. Didn't like all of the missteps being put up on News Nation. Sorry, bro, you did a lot of missteps. And it's getting worse. Today it has been announced, and I'll get back to the Google stuff because this is fascinating. But today it was announced that they have reached out to their counterparts in Mexico. You got to be woofing me, man. If this just happened, then this guy needs to go. 3 years from now, Tucson, get him the hell out of office, right? We got 3 more years of this jackwagon having this job unless something really great happens. And I don't know, somehow he figures out that he's hated. He even said today, I'm not very good at politics. I'm going to go out on a limb and agree with everybody on planet Earth. You're also not very good at being a cop. This has been an absolute crap show. I've spent a lot of time doing true crime. I've never seen anything like this. How do you not secure the crime scene? How do you allow people to walk around the crime scene at hour 30? They're still looking for clues. If you're looking for clues on the outside, you're screwed. There was a green shirt. A lot was made of this very early in the case. We talked about it on here. There was a green blouse that was dropped right by the front walkway. And people are going, what the hell is that? Whose green blouse is that? Right? Here's the thing. When you've got this many people with drones, people filming from the street, anything that looks out of place like this is going to be out of place. And guess what? It's her shirt. That is Nancy Guthrie's shirt. And a lot of people were speculating on that. Here's what I don't think a lot of people were speculating on. They brought that shirt out from the inside to let the bloodhound sniff. And then, like the great cops that they are, they just discarded it on the walkway, opening doors to all kinds of conspiracy theories. And then they wonder why us armchair quarterbacks, what else did they call us? Internet sleuths, right, are coming up with these theories that may not hold a whole hell of a lot of water. Maybe it's because you're not doing anything to dispel them. Today, the sheriff came out and he said it has occurred to him today. Are you ready? Hold on to something. This is being broadcast as pretty wild news, so grip something. It has been announced today that he thinks this may have been targeted. I'm not making this crap up. I wish I was. But we're on day 18, and this guy now figures out that maybe they weren't going over there for any other reason than to grab Nancy Guthrie. Wow. Internet sleuths and armchair quarterbacks figured this one out a hot minute ago. They didn't steal anything, genius, right? They didn't do anything other than go in and grab this woman. There was drugs in the house, allegedly fentanyl patches. If that's the truth, they're the only person to ever break into a house and not grab fentanyl patches. It literally may be a bag of diamonds, and it would be just as easy to get rid of. 1,500 of you in here. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do so. Smack that thumbs up. Do me a favor, hit the bell for notification because you're not exactly sure when I'm going to go live. You know how I know that? Johnny Scobo?
Fentanyl would be easier to get rid of than diamonds.
Because I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to go live. Fentanyl would be easier to get rid of than anything on earth with no trace, nothing. They didn't steal gold. Allegedly, the only thing they stole was Nancy Guthrie. This doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'll tell you something. If it ain't neckbeard, and I'm sticking with neckbeard, but my second option now is just a stone cold lunatic that took the time to Google this individual, right? They took the time to find out where this house was, what it looked like on the inside. Those are the kind of things that people do before crimes. And if they only did it in June, that's still a little creepy. But let's be honest, how many people today do you think might have Googled how much Nancy Guthrie makes annually? $8 million. I did it, right? I didn't do it today. I did it very early on in the case, but I Googled how much she made. That's germane to what we're talking about. But if you did it in December or early 2026, there was also another Google before this woman disappeared. At the very end of the year, right before she disappeared, they were back looking for images. That happened on the 11th, right? They are looking for camera footage to see if they can find somebody cruising around. We wonder why they're going through all of this stuff. I'll tell you something else that bums me out. You're seeing people on a stepladder, a man on a stepladder at the neighbor across the street, and he's checking out their Ring outdoor camera. This isn't a doorbell camera. This is set up by the same company, Ring. And that Ring is not a device that's going to keep anything inside of it. There is no hard drive on that. It would just be linking to the cloud. So why are you up there hand molesting it, right? Without gloves on, by the way. I don't know that makes a difference, but I would like them to have gloves on. But they're up there playing with this thing. And one of the theories has been maybe they're looking in the direction that it focuses, right? And he's kind of manipulating it. Maybe there's somebody inside looking or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But why the hell are you doing that on day 18? Right? Isn't that something you do the first day? Same with contacting your counterparts in Mexico. And here's a two-piece that you're absolutely going to love, because I'll tell you what, it tickles me to death. Harvey Levin came out yesterday and said, you know what, if more stuff comes into me, I'm not going to announce it. Right? He said, if there are more of these letters coming in, I'm not going to announce it. And then Harvey got a new letter and immediately announced it. Harvey, you scumbag. There's another letter. This one wants cryptocurrency, but they don't want cryptocurrency, right? They do not want cryptocurrency this time in Bitcoin. They didn't leak what the coin was, but they're going with a more obscure coin. Still going to be on the blockchain. Right? Cryptocurrencies aren't traded online. They're traded on the blockchain. It's still going to make it just as easy to trace wherever it goes. But if you are the legitimate kidnapper and you're going to come out at 18 days in and ask for money again, and by the way, the money was pretty close to the $6 million. Allegedly, they said what they wanted in coin, so it fluctuates a little bit, but they're saying it's right around the same dollar amount. And this gets announced right at the same time that they're looking into stuff in Mexico. They may have been able to chase down where that request was made from. That's a theory, right? That's all it is. But I'll tell you another theory, and you're going to find this one crazy. But as it turns out, a lot of people in the know, as it turns out, there are people that have reached out to say, oh no, they're still looking at Neckbeard. Don't get it messed up. They're absolutely still looking at Neckbeard. He is still the number one suspect. And do you know why? Because it makes sense. Stop crapping on armchair quarterbacks and internet sleuths. He was the last person to see her alive. He has not acted particularly normal since that happened. And I got tons of crap. The day that people showed up here and told me that I need to apologize to Neckbeard, here, hold on. Better? I'm not apologizing. And you know what? Even if he didn't do it, I'm not apologizing. This is what I do. And we play the numbers, man. The statistics are that this is going to be done by somebody that knows the Guthries, and they're going to have to know him fairly intimately. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. Another theory that's gaining popularity, and I'll just shoot this down as a criminal, as an ex-criminal. The theory is that one of the next door neighbors deals in a lot of gems, including diamonds, right? Now, he'll break into a house for some diamonds. Don't get it messed up. So a lot of people assume that maybe the wrong house was targeted. If the wrong house is targeted and you go in there and there's someone in it, you're still stealing everything that you can sell. You're a thief. All of my convictions were for stealing stuff. I go in that house and it's the wrong house. Trust and believe I will be stealing that gold. I will be stealing anything that I can sell. And they spent 40 minutes in there and took nothing. They were there, and Nanos, has figured this out. And it's a good thing he did, because I don't know that we would have got it on our own. But as it turns out, Nanos has figured out that this is a targeted kidnapping. You mean they didn't go there for any other reason? They know that this isn't a home invasion gone wrong. Why? Because people who commit crimes don't do home invasions at night. They break in and do robberies at businesses at night, since there's nobody in there. During the day, they will go over to your house and do a home invasion because they know where you are. What they don't want is somebody in that bedroom with a 12-gauge shotgun, right? Or somebody in that bedroom with a Smith & Wesson, because I don't care if you're 85. My mom is 85. And if she shoots you with a .357 Magnum, you're not going to know that it was an 85-year-old that pulled the trigger, right? It's not going to make a hell of a lot of difference. What's the old expression? God didn't make all men equal. Mr. Colt did, right? Mr. Colt made everybody on an even playing field. And for those of you who say, we got too many guns, it would have been really nice if Nancy had one. Go ahead and hate me. For real. Send an email. I won't read it. 2,600 of you in here. Do me a favor. Smack that like button. We are really bothering YouTube, right, with all of the language, and they can't not push me. Well, look at that. There it goes. My chat's back. She is in witness protection program. Mike Holloway, if you can give me a reason why she's in witness protection, I will happily put it up on screen. Let me see if I can help this one out. By the way, I put up a statistic the other day, and it said what percentage of news coverage was on her versus Epstein. It's now gone this way. We're now getting more Epstein stories than we are. I promise you, and I'll show it to you on the next one. I just didn't have time to get it into a format that will look good, right? But I guarantee you that right now we have more people talking about Epstein than we have talking about Nancy Guthrie, and it's going to keep dropping because the people that just got into this really want, in a very big way, for this to be solved, because we're used to law and order. And for the love of God, law and order, you go to the bathroom, and when you come back, all the DNA's been tested. It doesn't work like that in the real world. Your thoughts? They could not get her to give information to clear out her bank accounts and assets. That's why they had to take her with them. It was this was payoff. Family gets insurance. I don't see it. And I'm not being disrespectful, but I'll tell you why I don't see it. Number one, the transferring of money out of banks is not done on a blockchain, right? It is something that there are going to be really seriously easy ways to trace that. What accounts did they push them into, right? Most people that do this kind of crime want bags of money. They want gold. They want stones, right? Drugs are great. They can get drugs, but they're not looking for something that is going to leave a paper trail long enough to make sure that they never get out of Lompoc federal prison, which is exactly what would happen if you started clearing out bank accounts. I promise you, they do that crap in movies. It doesn't happen in the real world. You know, you could clear it out. Hold on 1 second, people. I am having cat issues. Give me 2 seconds. I swear to God. I'm sorry, but if you're a cat owner, you probably got that. I hate to say that I think it was a psycho stalking Savannah in the shadows. You know what, Blitz? How does anyone argue that? If this isn't Neckbeard, then it's somebody that was taking the time to Google the family and find out where this house was, how much money that Nancy made. That Savannah makes. But those two things in conjunction, normally 32B and fraud, the company she did coding for. There was no company that she did coding for, Mike Holloway. And I'm not mad at you, right? I'm not mad at anybody that leaves this comment, because the deep fake that talks about this with Rachel Maddow is so damn good that it is very easy to believe, but that's a deep fake. She did not work for any company. She did not find $32 billion worth of fraud. The person that made that bullshit video is getting paid hand over fist for the number of views, shares, likes, all that. They're getting paid. It didn't happen. And this is one of the problems that we have right now with this case. There are people, pay attention, there are people that are taking the image of the guy on the porch and having artificial intelligence remove the balaclava, or as my wife would say, the baklava. And if you haven't hit subscribe to my wife's channel, you should. Relatable Reese, I'm sure that you're in the chat, I just can't read it. This didn't happen. And when you start bombarding an investigation that has hundreds of agents working on it, they have hundreds of cops, there's people from all over the country. And every single day, these poor you-know-whats show up in the morning and they say, here's what you're going to be chasing down today. And they go out in teams of two. And if you got to chase down images of people that don't exist, that's a problem, right? That's a problem. Here's a question. Why don't they bump this thing up to $1 million? I always thought that maybe the FBI didn't want that to happen. But yesterday, a stranger put up 100K to take it from 100,000 to 200,000. With all due respect, Savannah, and I'm not has in the family, I swear to God I'm not, but why would you not put up $1 million, right? Watch how fast that honor among thieves shit goes out the window. If you raise that thing to $1 million, that's life-changing money for someone that wanted to get paid for doing something illegal, right? If there's more than one person, and most of you sleuths absolutely think that you saw two people there, they're sticking with the fact that that's one. I can't tell you. Honest to God, I can't. I wish I could. I cannot tell the difference between those two images. I can't tell if it's one person. I know the gun doesn't appear in one. I know the backpack doesn't. That would lead me to believe that there is more than one person that was there. But I have said from Jump Street, this is the kind of crime, if it's professional, that would have three people. It's just the way it is. That person didn't go to the front door to break in. First of all, if you break into a house, no one, and I'm not exaggerating, no one breaks through the front door, because it can be seen from the front, right? People go around to the back door. So that person was at the front getting rid of the camera because they didn't want the getaway car to be seen pulling up. Check this out. Check this out. And tell me what you think. You see this? Here he is. He's coming in, head ducked and to the left. People said he's looking for things on the ground to break the thing off with. No. If he knew he had to pry something off, he would have brought a screwdriver. Whoever told this person about it said it's a rain cam. You just pull it off the wall. When he found out he couldn't, then he looks down at the ground. He walks over there. He snaps off some sticks. He brings it back and pries it off with a stick. We know this because there was a stick still jammed in with the housing the first time they walked up there. We all saw the picture. People in my chat, I believe TC Sparkles was the first one to notice it and said, nope, I think it was pried off. That's why there's all of that stuff laying right on the mat. The mat, which the sheriff didn't think would be a good idea to take and process. Of course, by now, how many YouTubers walked on that mat right after that 30 hours when they released the crime scene? And citizen journalists walked to the front door. Do me a favor, people, 3,600 of you in the chat, smack that like button, hit the bell for notification after you hit subscribe. And then when I go live, you're going to know about it. And I promise you, you'll thank me later. Because I bring this a little different. If you're brand new here, I don't come at this like a cop. I don't have a lot of perspective on that. I mean, I've been arrested. I did time. I'm a convicted bank robber. I'm a convicted gun runner. I got my life together. I got out of prison. I started helping people. But I look at this from the criminal side. And I want to tell you something. This doesn't make sense. Not this much of it in terms of criminal. But they have not ruled out neckbeard. So for all of you that shit on me a couple of days ago for this, sorry about your luck. Honestly, they haven't ruled it out. The people that have connections, by the way, somebody did email me something today to tell me they're a connection. They said, you have a source now. I have to chase this down to find out if it's really a source. If it is really a source, they also agree with me. But there are a lot of people in law enforcement that have reached out to big names, people like Megyn Kelly, right? That are reaching out and saying, no, they haven't, cleared anybody. And how could you clear anybody? Make me understand how that could be cleared. There is no evidence today that anybody took polygraphs, at least that we can prove who they are. And the second we can, I will be on it. Did you ever use a plant to cover a camera? No, I did not. No, I did not. But by way of full disclosure, this was not my kind of crime. I was going into a bank where I knew they were going to film me, right? I knew I was going to be filmed the second that I walked into that bank. So I didn't go in there looking like myself. Hold on one second. Look at this. I'm 40 subscribers away from 18K, and I get to do really filthy things if she hits 18K. I didn't say that. My mom's probably watching. What's in the backpack? Well, it could be a change of clothing. It could be clothing for her. I wouldn't want to walk out of that place. If I went in and got her under control and I had to walk her to the car, I don't think I want to be wearing the balaclava and what looks like it's the middle of the winter kind of clothing in Tucson, Arizona at night. Right? That isn't going to be nearly the right outfit. It would look odd, especially if you were driving around in it. So if you had a change of clothes inside the bag for you and maybe the second person that wasn't carrying a backpack, you change out into your Sunday go to meeting clothes, get back in the car and drive off with her. Sorry, folks, zip tied up or in the trunk, right? I mean, you don't want to be spotted with her in the car. So if you didn't have her laying on the back floorboards, logic says you would have her in the trunk. I know that that's not fun, right? None of this is fun, but this is reality. Right? They're not going to have, they don't seem to be professional enough from the point of kidnapping, right? It's one thing to be a professional burglar. It's one thing to be a professional enough to go through a door and steal stuff, right? They knew what was on the other side of that door. Plain and simple, they knew what was on the other side of that door. Because criminals like myself, retired, we don't go into places where people can have guns. 300 million people in the United States of America and 900 million guns. The odds that the house you're breaking into, someone's packing heat, is pretty damn good in America, right? So you don't want to go through there if you don't know what's on the other side. Because although you're carrying a gun, I promise that person's not ready for a gun battle. And gun battles bring cops, right? Neighbors call the cops when people start shooting guns. That was to intimidate, in my opinion. There are multiple sources, multiple people involved in the psychic sleuth. Yeah, I got to be honest with you, man. Psychic sleuth to me, and I'm not trying to be a dick. You can believe anything you want to believe. I'm going to stick with, I'm going to play the numbers. And the numbers on this are pretty simple. This is what happens in crime, right? Who was the last person to see the person alive or dead, if that's what happened? Or who was the last person to see this individual before they were kidnapped in this particular case? That's neckbeard. And if you're new to the channel, neckbeard is Tommaso, right? That is the son-in-law of Nancy Guthrie. There are so much misinformation. I promise you, listen to me carefully. I have looked at the family genealogy tree. That woman that they keep talking about has nothing to do with that family tree. And I know we want to tie this crap up in a bow and have it be perfect. It isn't going to be with that. I'm sorry, but that individual has nothing to do with the family. Do you understand? Debbie Zito says, hilarious stream today, Reese. All of Reese's streams are hysterical. Subscribing is free. Smack that subscribe button. Hit the bell for notification. There's 4,200 of you in here right now. If you had any idea how much that pissed off YouTube, you would have a crap-eating grin on your face because they do not like pushing people that say suicide, false flag, murder, 16. Like all that, you can't say 16. You ever realize this? Watch all the big-time creators that are saying, he took this into a Pew Pew store. Man, oh man. If you, honest to God, if we allow them to start doing that to our words, we're in deep shit as a country. It's a gun store. Right? We're talking about a possible murder. We're not talking about a possible unaliving. Yeah, good God now. Mopman says 4,200. Wow. Yeah, no question, right? But here's the thing. I think people are getting a little bit tired of the BS. I'm not a journalist. right? You want a journalist? I watch one. I like Brian Enton. That's the journalist I watch. Because as of this point, he hasn't bullshitted me at all. He hasn't, right? Brian Enton seems to do pretty damn good work chasing stuff down. I've gone down the rabbit hole for Kayla, not related to Savannah Guthrie. Her mom is Penny Guthrie, not related to Savannah Guthrie, no relations. Capiche. No relations whatsoever. However, I understand why. I completely understand why we're looking for this. We all want to find something that's going to make this make sense. If this kidnapping wasn't for ransom, then proof of life is not necessary. Maybe she's still alive. What's the point? I'm not trying to be a dick, but why are you keeping this 84-year-old woman alive if there's no money in it? I'm sorry, people. I'm not trying to bum anybody out, right? But I don't see any situation that makes sense to me for this woman to still be alive. Somebody left a comment on one of my videos today that said they lost their dad. They were in a plane that was flying to Mexico, and the plane crashed. It took them 6 months to find the plane. And she said the hell of that 6 months, this could be to torture the family. That's the only other thing that makes sense to me outside of the first thing I always look for in every case, which is money. Money is the first thing you look at in every case, because most crimes are committed for money or drugs. That's just it. I'm sorry. And then you got bad wiring. You got the people that do this stuff because they get their rocks off on it. And you know what? Harvey freaking Levin coming out every single time some asshole sends him a email is feeding that kind of sickness. Not just for the person that may have done this, but for anybody that just wants to go, oh my God, I got on TMZ. And when you come out on the first one and say the way that they reached out to us is untraceable, what do you think that's doing to this investigation? How many people do you think are chasing down all of the stupid stuff that Harvey Levin is responsible for putting out into the ether? Huh? Seriously, how many agents have to chase this down? It doesn't make sense. You show proof of life. There is a book, man, right? There is absolutely a book on how you do this, right? If you're going to kidnap somebody, you grab them, you take care of them. That's your job as a kidnapper. You don't let them get hurt. It looked super unprofessional from Jump Street when you see blood on the front steps. By the way, blood leads away from that. People keep talking about it. I watched a really great clip of them walking up that walkway. The blood does, if somebody were to have her over the shoulder, right? She could have leaked while they were shutting the door, making sure everything was good there. And then there are drips that lead out from it. At that point, you might have taken her off of your shoulder. You might have cradled her. There's a lot of reasons why the blood would not go all the way to wherever they're going to find her. But I think it goes pretty close to getting into a car. And I believe wholeheartedly that they had to get rid of that front camera because they didn't want the getaway car to get spotted. If somebody hired me to do this, and I wouldn't do it, but if I were hired to do this, I would need 3 people. Someone's going to knock out the front camera. Someone else is going to go around the back to get ready to go in. After that front camera's knocked out, then the person in front probably went around to the back. When you want to capture somebody, you don't want to do it one-on-one. For real, she could hit you with a cane. She could have a gun. You want overwhelming force, and you want to scare and intimidate the person you're grabbing. The balaclavas go a long way to doing that. That's a frightening thing to have come into your house at night. God be with Nancy Guthrie, especially somebody with an 84-year-old person with a bad heart. And this woman had a bad heart, right? We know this. I think it's probably a very difficult thing for me at this point to imagine that she's still alive. And don't get it messed up. I'm not joking. I pray a dozen times a day that they're going to find her alive. But my wife said on one of the podcasts that we did together, spent a lot of time working in senior care. It's probably why she married me. But she's never going to be the same if they find her, right? This is her quality of life for the rest of her life is going to be a very tough thing. This is going to leave emotional scars. God only knows what happened to her physically because she was leaking. A lot of people have said, her skin would tear like paper. Absolutely it would. Absolutely it would. But they were 40 minutes inside. I think one of the reasons that could have happened is if you have this camera on the front and you don't have a membership, it's still going to send you a update that says someone was at the front door and it's going to have a video of them. Now they had her phone. It was left there. They had the watch. I bet money she had at least one laptop. She may have had an iPad. All of those devices probably got a message that showed that video. So you'd have to go through all of those and erase it. That could take a minute, especially if you said, give me the password, and she said no. At which point, I'm sorry, but they would probably smack her. It's just what would happen if you were trying to get that quickly. Also, there was never a glove inside the house, right? Barney Fife has said this, along with the revelation that this may have been a targeted kidnapping. 18 days in, brother, you're killing it. This guy needs to be thrown out because he's absolutely an ass. And I said yesterday, man, I said it last night too. I said, Harvey Levin has decided he's not going to release any more any more of this information if it gets sent to him. I said, watch until he gets the next one. He got it today. He's turned it over. They're announcing that they're working in Mexico. If they haven't been working in Mexico since day one, then this is a shit show that's so much worse than we thought it was. You're 60 miles, and that doesn't mean 60 minutes, by the way. A lot of people say that. It's not a straight shot from Tucson to the border crossing. It's going to take you at least an hour and 20 minutes. I've been across that border. I lived in Tucson. By the way, if you just got here, I live in the Catalina foothills of Tucson. I had a house a couple of miles from where this happened. And the Catalina foothills are unique. If you've never been there, you're not driving through those streets at 60 miles an hour. The two backpack guy, if you've been following that, they say, well, if he was driving 60 miles an hour, he could have been at that house within that 5 minutes. I don't care who you are. You're not driving 60 miles an hour. If you knew the roads, they were closed off, and you did it at high noon, you're not driving that crap at 60 miles an hour. You're just not. There's no chance in hell. In fact, 40 gets dangerous. It goes like this, up, down, turns, corners. This is not on a grid. When they got to the Catalina foothills, you had huge swales, and then you had these massive indentations. They didn't mess with any of it. So there are houses that are down low. There are houses that are up top, and driveways that go straight down, straight up, or the occasional, like Nancy's, where the driveway is almost level to the house sits up a little bit higher, and but they do everything they can so that you don't look at traffic going by your house. That's how the Catalina foothills are designed. This is one of the reasons that we're having such a challenge with people trying to figure out exactly what's going on in terms of people driving by. You're just not filming the street in front of your house. That's not how the cameras are set up, right? If you film your front porch or your driveway, the house that I was at, the road is 100 yards below where the house is. It just goes straight up. Well, it winds, but it is literally on an incline like this. When I first got there, the moving truck took 7 attempts to get up it because it was just so steep that they could not get a truck up the thing. This is a very unique neighborhood. It's dark because of the whole light pollution thing. They signed a law back in 1972 that said that the development of that would not allow light pollution. So you don't get huge street lights. If you look on my site, you will find times where I walked around the Catalina foothills at night because it's hard to believe just how dark and isolated it is. And I know that people bum out about that, but it is a ridiculously safe neighborhood, right? It's affluent, and most of the people there are of retirement age. You get the occasional theft of bike. If somebody leaves a car out, young kids will go through there and burgle it and try to steal money out or steal a stereo, but it's not violent crime. It's not that kind of place. It is almost a retirement community, but it's not, right? It is almost a retirement community, but it's not. Susan, thank you so much for the super sticker. It means the world to me. It really does. It's hard to keep these things going when you don't play their game, and I sure as hell am not going to start playing their game now. For real. Now you guys are making it happen. You're hitting the like button. You're hitting subscribe. You're hitting the bell for notification. And I will continue to do good Lord, Johnny Scoville, true crime until they stop doing it. Now, back to the DNA. So they didn't get a hit in CODIS. That's not a shocker, right? It's not a shocker. Now what they're going to do is they're going to put this into the national databases that are private. And before anybody says, you can't do it in this one, you can't do it with that one, 32andMe, you can't use that. Can't use Ancestry.com because they have a contract that says you're not going to enter any of that stuff into the evidence. But you can put a 2 in the chat if you followed the Brian Kohberger case. Because you know how they caught Brian Kohberger? By using those exact same platforms that say you can't do it. Oh, I'm not playing, right? They went to 23andMe. They went to all these. And it was a court case. Like, this was a big thing. His lawyers were going, oh, no. You can't use that. They will go into those databases if they find nothing else, whether they get Savannah Guthrie to call and say, hey, help, or whether they get some kind of a warrant, which goes against what they're supposed to do. But they did it in Kohberger, right? They did it with Brian Kohberger. So this is a reality in crime in general. This is a reality now. The Golden State Killer got caught this way. Brian Kohberger got caught this way. How? Off of the snap on the sheath of his knife had DNA on it. And that DNA, they ended up tagging up to familial DNA, and then they followed him around. Do you know that when they busted Brian Kohberger, you know what he was doing? I mean, literally in the act of doing? He was in the act of throwing his trash into his neighbor's trash bin because he figured if they were ever going to get him, they were going to get him by DNA or by familial DNA. They had already harvested the stuff that he had put in the neighbor's trash days earlier, and that's how the guy got caught. More than likely, this is the way that they're going to catch this guy, or someone's going to snitch. Because if there are 3 people involved in this, they got to be getting real dicey. At this point, you got to start wondering about whose plan was this, because this is a bad one. Right now, if you got her, whether she is alive or dead, that is a hot potato like you would not believe, because the whole world is looking for her, right? Both sides of the border, everywhere. Now, they're going to be pulling all of the camera from all of the border crossings for probably the night of and to a week afterwards. I promise you, if somebody got across that border, it isn't going to be much farther than after that, because once she went missing, the people at that border crossing are going to be looking at every single car that comes across the border, and they're going to be looking in them. Realistically, when you cross at Nogales or you cross at one of these, you got about a 1 in 10 chance, maybe 1 in 8 chance that they're going to flag your car over and just look at it. They're not searching it. They just want to make sure you don't have a trunk full of guns, right? Because that's usually what happens. It's a lot easier to get into Mexico than it is to get back into the United States, right? Way easier. So the question becomes, did anybody cross that border with a woman in the car, and did they get caught? 5,200 of you in here. Do me a favor, smack that like button, hit subscribe, and hit the bell for notification, and then get over there and check out Chase the Heat. That is Johnny Scoville's channel. I do a show with him at midnight. And check out my wife, Relatable Reese. That would be that woman right there. And she will give you a little comic relief from this. One of my favorite people on planet Earth, and one of the funniest. And a babe. I'm just saying. So where are we at? Honestly, this is where we're at. The DNA that they are chasing down, the DNA from inside the house, we all need to pray that that comes back to the person that did this. Because to be honest, every person that enters your house can leave DNA. They have built a pool, right? They call it pool DNA. And the pool will be the healthcare workers, the gardener, if he ever enters inside, if they got people that clean, all of the relatives, all of the friends, everybody that consistently goes to her house will be eliminated by DNA, right? What they will not have, if there's a strange DNA in there, sadly, that doesn't mean it's from the person that did it. You would think in 40 minutes of being inside that house, it would be literally impossible to not leave DNA. Real pros, and I'm not trying to, but real pros wear Tyvek. They wear those suits that are paper. You've seen them before. They got booties on them, right? They literally have nothing hanging out but their face. Rubber gloves that go over the top of that and then get duct taped. Watch how people go in to work a crime scene. Real people, like the guys that kill people for a living, and sadly those people exist. They go in there with no intent to leave any DNA, and they do a pretty damn good job of making sure that doesn't happen. They also don't hang out inside for 41 minutes. That to me will always have me scratching my head, because it makes absolutely no sense. From a criminal standpoint, I can't explain this to anybody that hasn't broken the law in that particular fashion. But I robbed more than one bank, we'll leave it at that, and got convicted for it. But I robbed banks. And you walk into a bank knowing you're going to rob it, and really weird things happen, right? Your adrenaline starts to kick. Everything in your stomach turns to liquid. It's a hard thing to get through. And it is 100 times more comfortable. It's like holding your wife's hand compared to going into a house that you're not supposed to be in. Every single cell in your body screams, get out of this house. It is the most uncomfortable feeling that a criminal can experience. And that cat at the front door didn't look nervous. Neckbeard has not lawyered up. And this is one of the reasons I think that they keep telling us that he's not a suspect, because he is cooperating with them. In other words, he's answering questions. And the last thing in the world you want is the person that you think did it calling an attorney. And he's watching TV, right? He's probably watching YouTube. If we're lucky, he's just watching CNN and Fox, right? And News Nation. But if he's watching YouTube in any way, he realizes that most of the people that do this a lot, most of the people that watch true crime, get into true crime, theorize on true crime, we're all basically all in on Neckbeard. And there's a reason for it, folks. I'm sorry. Everyone's like, it's because of how he looks. Well, not for nothing. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that that's why it is. But if you've ever done any time in prison, and I'm trusting that most of you haven't, but if you see a guy that looks like that comes through the door, you're going to make a decision very early on if he's a guy that you can trust or if he's a guy that you can't trust. This guy worked as a school teacher, and if my kid went to his class, I would want to take my kid to a new school. I'm sorry, he doesn't look like the kind of guy I would hire to be a babysitter. You agree or disagree, doesn't much matter. But this guy's got a look, and in every single picture that is taken of him, he's got a look that just looks creepy to me. It's not why I think he did it. I think he did it because he was the last person to see them alive, or before the kidnapping. Sorry, don't send hate mail. The last person to see her before she was abducted, right, was Neckbeard. And on top of that, he doesn't like the press. And he doesn't like the press at a way that is just a little bit over the top. Can I believe TMZ got another letter? Absolutely. Because Harvey Levin runs immediately and then starts looking at, right? The entire world through every single person he can go on, any large channel. And I understand people, right? I'm closing in on 5,500 people in my chat. This is good for business, right? But Harvey is now a part of this case. And as a journalist, which I am not, right? You're not supposed to become a part of the case. And Harvey Levin is a massive part of this case. We're all now waiting every single day to hear Harvey come out and go, got another letter, right? Got another letter. Do you think the phone could have been left at home to make a timeline? Heard reports of it being found in her car. I did not hear any reports of it being found in her car. I would find that really odd, right? Most of us don't leave our phones in the car. Most of us bring our phones in. It's the last thing we look at before we go to bed. And that's people that are 30, 20, 18, or 84, right? My mom sleeps with hers next to her bed. I think most people do. So I kind of doubt that. However, I don't think they want a timeline, people. I think that that's the last thing that anybody wants is a timeline. And again, people, I'm not saying you can judge a book by its cover, right? But you can take that and put it with a lot of other stuff and go, this is a little creepy. Also, if you are a Christian and you have a Christian family and everybody in your family attends church and you all pray before meals and you're all very into that, and your daughter who marries a guy that from another country and the both of them become a different religion, Wiccan. I don't care what your views on Wiccan is. Miss me with that. I don't care, right? But it isn't Christian, and it is going to chap the ass of the matriarch of that family. I would imagine that was a point of contention. There are a lot of people who believe that, you know, your daughter's now not going to make it where you're going because of her beliefs. I don't want to hear it. Don't give me your opinion. It doesn't matter. We're talking about the true crime element of this, but this does cause dissension. Then there are people, and some of them I happen to believe are credible, that have said there has been arguments in this family concerning money. And there's only one person in the family that's taking care of mom, at least in person. I'm sure that Savannah takes care of mom in financial ways, right? But the sister that is the least successful of everybody there has to babysit her. And I'm sorry, at 84, you have to babysit people. It is just one of those things. I used to take care of my mother, right? I did. And my mom is sharp as a tack, ambulatory, no issues. You still have to take care of them. As someone who sports a Billy Gibbons beard, I must admit I'm in awe of Neckbeard's beard. Sorry, not sorry. Hey, I want to tell you something. I wish I had it on my head, right? The thread count on that thing is absolutely amazing. Tommaso is from Italy. By the way, he's still in Tucson. You hearing this? God help us. I get 100 emails a day. He's still in Tucson. He's not in Italy. He didn't go to Florida. He is in Tucson. They know exactly where he is. And for the people that worry that someone is going to sneak out of this net and then they're just going to disappear, like the people in the Range Rover, right? The Zach Cat or Luke or any of these people, they're not going to disappear, right? When they were after me, they came, snuck into my garage and put a tracker in my Mercedes. You're not getting away. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate you. True Crime Psychic heard that the person involved has an occupation in science after she found out Tom is a science teacher. Well, psychics, I'm not going to sit and badmouth it. I just don't put any stake into it. You know what I mean? I know I got caught every time I did something. I went to prison for a lot of crimes, right? And every single time, I assure you, it wasn't a psychic. It is the terrifyingly proficient guys at the Bureau of Investigation. I was not a guy that got chased down by regular cops. The crimes that I did were all federal offenses, and it would scare the crap out of you. How good the FBI is, if they're hunting you, you're going to get caught. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. They're going to catch these people. And they're going to catch them in a way where you go, you got to be kidding. Like them going to Google and finding out that there's only one cat that ever Googled, where does Nancy Guthrie live? I almost said Nancy Grace. Where does Nancy Guthrie live? This person wanted to see where that house was in the Catalina foothills. That's suspicious as shit. And then they wanted to know how much the daughter makes. That to me is a lead. Like that's a legit ass lead, right? A absolutely legitimate lead. Does that mean I'm off Neckbeard? Absolutely not. I'm sorry, I'm not. It's just playing the numbers. This isn't personal. 80% of the time, it happens from someone in the family or someone that is as close to family as you're going to get, right? Best of friend. This and his actions, right? He doesn't want to be on film. They're hiding and ducking into the car and covering their face and wearing sunglasses. When you lose a family member and they have disappeared, the press is your best friend. That's not your enemy. You go out and you say, please pray for my mother-in-law. And if you see anything weird, if you go through your camera and you just see a car that went back and forth 10 times, if you happen to be in the Catalina foothills, please go through your camera, right? You're begging for any kind of help you can. You're not hiding. Hasn't been seen in public since February the 3rd. And people go, neither of the other relatives. No, but they made videos, right? Where was Neckbeard when the video was going on? That dude has been MIA throughout this entire thing. And they're saying he's cooperating. And I think that may be the reason that we keep hearing, nothing to see here. This guy's not a suspect. There is nothing that's going on that points to him in any way. Then why, after the first time, because if you're new to this isn't the first time that the sheriff said he's not a suspect. The first time happened right after Ashley Banfield broke this and said that she has sources in law enforcement. She didn't just say sources in law enforcement. What she said was, one of the best sources I've ever had in law enforcement has said that the number one suspect is the son-in-law, Neckbeard, right? The next day, that would have been the 5th day of the investigation, right? This guy came out and said, no, absolutely not. The family is not a suspect. 2 days later, they served a search warrant at his house. In the middle of the night, shooting with luminol and all kinds of stuff, right? Taking flash photos. People assume luminol because you normally don't shoot pictures in the dark, right? Luminol, if you're brand new to true crime, helps spot blood. It looks for things inside of blood, even if it's cleared up. They pour luminol over everything, and then you throw a black light on, and it lights up like the middle of, like 4th of July. And they take pictures of all this stuff. G-Man, good to see you. This happens to be how they do this stuff, right? They're also pulling every single camera you possibly can. This is going to be at 7-Elevens. It's going to be at ATMs. The amount of stuff that's going on that you don't see is terrifying. Terrifying. Why are we in the shit show we're in right now, right? Because this is important. The FBI has lost all credibility, says hypervigilance, because they didn't get it done in 18 days. Honestly, the bombing that took place in Washington, D.C. took 5 years. They had to disassemble a bomb, pull the wires out, see what batch of wire that is, where it was mailed to, right? What stores carry that line in that area. Then they go in and start putting it together this way. They are going to be going to every Walmart that is in that area, and there's a stink load of Walmarts in Tucson. They have regular Walmarts, Superstore Walmarts, Maxi, there's so many of them in and around Tucson. But they're going to be looking through footage on all this stuff. And this is not a long time, man. FBI are assholes that hung up on me. Well, I mean, I can see where that would bum me out a little bit, hypervigilance, but this is what they do and they're good at it. I promise you they are. I'm not at all coming down on the FBI. And before you shit too hard on the FBI, this is a situation that they should have been in this a little bit earlier than they were. And then they got, I almost used a terrible expression. They got blocked, right, by Frank Drebin, the sheriff from the Pima County Sheriff's Office. What happens on this, that's a real serious problem, is they sent all of their stuff to a lab in Florida that had already made $200,000 off of this case alone. It's a lot of DNA testing, yeah? Instead of sending it to Quantico. So once it got from there, we had to get it back, send it to Quantico, because those labs don't have the ability to put it into CODIS. So we have lost days of this investigation. No two ways about it. We also have lost the outside of the crime scene, because if you don't put up tape and stop people from walking through your crime scene, I love Brian Enton, but his DNA has got to be outside, right? He walked straight up, filmed, looked down, walked around. So many people did. Other big content creators whose names I won't say on here because I'm not trying to pick fights with any content creators. And if you've been following this, somebody ordered a pizza for a content creator and they walked to the front door with it. Got any idea what this does to a crime scene? You got any idea what it does for someone, right, who's a defense attorney? Now, look, there's going to be a lot made about what Savannah does, what her husband does. These aren't people that live the life that we do. You understand? This woman has interviewed presidents. She's been all over the world. Her husband worked for, right, presidents. This is a group of people that continue to have a life. And I know that sounds horrible, but there's not much that the husband can do. He could come in there and stand next to his wife, which I sure as shit would have done. But I'm a content creator. I'm not a guy that has clients and things like that. I got you guys. Unfortunately, I think this is a recovery case now. I do too. But I said the exact same thing in the Elizabeth Smart case. So I will continue to pray that they find her and that I go, holy crap, she's alive. Because that's what happened with Elizabeth Smart. I was floored when I found out she was still alive. And I'm happy. She's a beautiful woman. She's living a beautiful life right? She's recovering and she's making a difference. She's talking about the kind of stuff that happened to her and making people far more aware. I would love to believe that we're going to see the same thing happen with Nancy. Do I think it's possible? Yeah, it's possible. Do I think it's probable? No, I think she's dead. And I'm going to catch shit for that. But I'm not going to lie to you either, right? From a criminal standpoint, why would you keep her alive at this point? The fact that they couldn't show proof of life means to me that they are either not the kidnappers or she died before they had a chance to film her in such a way that they could send that off and prove it. Polygraphs. You know what? Here's the thing with polygraphs. It's usually the first thing done. You make a great point, Texas Red, and it's absolutely real, right? She was a young girl. She was absolutely, if you ever read her book, what she went through would have killed an older woman. I promise you. What she went through would have killed many, many people. But she was young. She was virile. She was healthy. They call this kidnapping for a reason. They don't snatch elderly people because it never, ever works, right? It never works. It's way too dangerous. If you try looking up statistics on this, and I do this on everything, if you try looking up statistics on this, it doesn't fly because there are no statistics. The only place that people grab the elderly is outside the United States. Maybe because they have a much higher regard and respect for older people. Honestly, silver napping. There wouldn't be a bad name for it. From a criminal, thanks for being candid. Yeah, it's all I got. Honest to God, it is, right? I do two things with my life. I try to help people no longer do dope and end up in the same places that I went to. And I can give a perspective on this because sadly, the fruits of a misspent youth, I spent a lot of time around criminals. I spent time around gangsters, mafia guys. Those are the people that unfortunately I wasted my life with, right? So once I got sober, this is something that I sort of fell into, but I have a pretty good idea of what kind of behavior these people do. And I'm telling you right now, criminals don't go into houses at 2:00 in the morning. The only way they do that is if they know that two things. Person on the other side of that door can't call the cops. Like you're robbing a drug dealer. You're robbing a stash house, account house. People that can't call 911 because if the cops show up, they're going to get arrested for whatever the hell they're doing there, right? The other option is you know exactly what's going to meet you on the other side of that door, man. Right? All for Ponzi schemes. Yeah, Ponzi schemes are a little different. Ponzi schemes technically are people that do not have a product, right? Think Bernie Madoff. You bring in $100 million in your first year and you tell those people you'll pay them 18% on their money. They can get out whenever they want. And you pay them their money off of the next guy that comes in. That's a Ponzi scheme. Thank you so much, DS Kitty Diane. I think the YouTube algorithm loves you now. Well, wouldn't that be a pisser? If it does, it's all you guys. I promise you, man. If I'm getting any kind of love on this, Curto Cocaine. Thank you. That's a kind thing to say. I am of the firm belief that this isn't a crime. A burglary that went bad, you continue to steal. If it's a burglary that went bad, you still take the gold, right? It's gold for God's sakes. It doesn't have serial numbers on it. If it's identifiable, you can melt it, right? Gold is something that people get. You can take it and smash it with a hammer into a big lump and then go sell it for weight. People steal gold. If they were thieves, the gold would be missing. Nothing was missing from the house. And Barney Fife decided today, maybe this was a targeted attempt there, Johnny Skill, right? I promise you it was a targeted attempt, Barney Fife. They didn't take anything. And they were freaking myopic. Whether they're pros or not, he walked up to that door as cool as a cucumber. There was no fear in that guy's gait. He was calm. I wouldn't have been that calm, right? And I spent a lot of time as a criminal. I'd have been scared shitless to be on that front door, right? The person on the other side of it could have a shotgun. They knew what was on the other side of that door. They knew what they were there for. If it is not hurt hand, I don't know if it's a hurt hand, but it is sure unusual to cover a camera like that, right? That does a whole lot of a better job, right? I do find that really, really odd.
When I saw it, it just looked like a costume that he's playing a role.
You know what, Darcy? Johnny Scoville's been saying that for days. If he picked up the stuff in his left hand, why is the pistol in a right-handed grabbing position? And it is. That's odd.
That was a costume.
What's that? It's a costume. It really does look more like a costume. Johnny Scoville says, this isn't a guy going out to do dirt. This is a guy wearing a costume. And you know what? That's why you put the gun on top of your penis. Not usually a place most gangsters carry their guns. They have something called appendix carry. And if you think about how your body goes down like this, like where your leg folds right there to the left or right of your junk, people carry it there because it's a lot more comfortable than where he's got it carried. But people that want to, he wanted that gun to be seen, right? That's to intimidate who's ever on the other side of the door. It means I mean business, right? Don't make me pull this thing. There's a lot of people that are theorizing it might not even be a real gun. I can't get a good enough look at it, to be honest with you. One of the things that I went to prison for was selling guns. I'm fairly adept with the whole gun thing. I've never used one on somebody. I'm not that kind of guy. It's just a business that I fell into by accident. But it doesn't look to me that I can get a good enough look. There are people that are theorizing what kind of gun it is or anything like that. It's not. 4 o'clock, that's right. Right? That's about where you're carrying it. That's a great way to put it, hypervigilance. Thank you. You're looking at about a 4 o'clock carry if you want to look at it that way, and that actually makes a hell of a lot of sense. I tell you what, 5,300 of you in there. If you all hit the like button, boy, will YouTube be pissed tomorrow. I tell you what. Oh, they love it. I'm telling you, people, they don't like pushing people. And if you guys push me for them, boy, does that make them mad. I love it. Not sure it was a real gun. Southie girl, a lot of people feel that way. And if you think to yourself, nobody would go into the house with a fake gun. I swear to God, dozens and dozens and dozens of idiots I met in federal prison who got caught with a fake gun. A lot of bank robbers carry fake guns. I never carried a gun, right? Never had a reason for it. But the people that do, that want to look like they're badasses, if you're a felon, buying a gun becomes dicey. But a felon can walk in and buy a BB gun, right? And some of them are terrifying how much they look like real things. And the airsoft ones can be even better looking.
I'm telling you, there's a red tip on it.
Yeah, there may be a red tip on the end of that gun, says Johnny Scoville, man. And there's a possibility of that. It's pretty wild. And we're going to be getting into a lot of this stuff a lot deeper. I'm going to be asking for a lot of your opinions and a lot of your theories on the 12 o'clock show that I do. That's 9 o'clock on the California side. I do it with this guy. God help us, you're hideous. We may look a little alike. That's my brother Johnny. He's you can find him at Chase the Heat. The pistol is small but may have a suppressor. Yeah. You know, a lot of people have said this. My experience with sound suppressors, they're about 3 to 4 inches long. That would be really a long, you know what I mean? By the time you screw that onto the barrel, you got about 1/4 of an inch, right, of mounting hardware. So even if it was a really small gun, think baby Beretta, think Raven Arms model MP25, or a little baby Ruger, the kind very popular with women. You're still going to be looking at a gun that's about 9 inches long. I downloaded the Porsche video off the FBI website, and it seems plausible. It's real. They claim it's a rare Walther 22 with a suppressor. I haven't seen anybody claim that, but that happens to be my favorite gun. Got caught with a couple of them. 3D printed, I kind of doubt it. Here's the thing. 3D printed guns are great because you can't find them, but what they can find are the people that buy all the software and download the actual. So even if you buy your 3D printer and all the stuff you do to make a ghost gun, it doesn't mean you just go, okay, make a gun. You have to go get the plans offline, and you usually purchase those. And all of those things leave a pretty good footprint. Now, who cares if you never do anything wrong, right? Did I hear the feds are in Mexico? I heard that they are contacting their Mexican counterparts, like the federales across the border. I really hope to God we're hearing about this today, but that it happened a long time ago, because it is logical being that close to the Mexican border. I don't think they took her across the border. I think that's insane from a criminal standpoint. You got her out of the house safely. Now you want to cross an international border. That's batshit crazy to me. However, if things went bad, I could see grabbing in your car and saying, I'm going to Mexico, we're out of here. And think about it. If this had been an attempt for just a kidnapping and she didn't make it through the first night, she was already leaking on the way out the door. She's got a bad heart. What if she had a heart attack? Now you got to figure out what you're going to do quickly. You can't prove life. There's no way to carry through with the actual kidnapping proper. So you're left in a pretty tough situation, right? You're either going to figure out a way to get rid of her, right? Leave her in a trunk. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be cold-hearted. Please don't hate me for this, but this is what we do, right? Crush her, bury her, burn her, put her in a trunk. But if you went into a house for any other reason and you got a body in there, you burn the house down. You put her in the shower. She's 84. You leave the water on. You don't grab her and leave. There's so much. Holster was to prevent DNA. The holster was to prevent DNA. You mean from grabbing it out from inside your pants? That might make sense. I assume that's what you mean. You didn't want to have the gun inside because pulling it out, you're gonna grab skin cells and all kinds of stuff. That's actually as logical as anything else that I've heard people say about the holster, truthfully. All right, people, I don't go too much for more than an hour usually. Do me a favor. On the way out, smack that like button, hit the bell for notification, and make sure you hit subscribe. Also, go do it on my wife's channel. You'll thank me later. And check out Chase the Heat. That's my brother's channel. Tommy Bird, good to see you. Happy birthday, Tommy Bird. 36 again. God bless you. All right, people, between now and the next time I see you, pray for the Guthrie family. Whether or not Nancy Guthrie is still alive, this family needs more prayers than any family in America. I'm Tommy. I will see you in about, 2 hours or so. We'll catch you at midnight on the East Coast time. I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for showing up. And thanks to all of you who are hitting the subscribe button, all of the people that are taking the time to push this channel. It is absolutely chapping the people at YouTube, not to mention all those that hate me. But I love you guys. I really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you, Gary Mackey. 5 of you just turned green. Hopefully we will see all of you in a couple of hours on our late night wrap-up show. I'm Tommy, and we will see you on the next one. God bless, and pray for that family. See you soon.